What's up, guys? I'm ready to travel. Let's go.
Your bags were on the move. Rhythm and Rome got nothing to lose. Culture clash from coast to coast. Misconceptions, we chasing ghosts. Travel far wide, explore the unknown. Rhythm and Rome making you feel at home.
This is Nani, my 6-month-old
Nani.
puppy. We are talking about traveling with our furry friends today because we like to travel with them, but it can be a hassle if you haven't done it before, or are traveling to a place that is rabies free, or your dog is just, or your cat is just, or your other animal is just not used to traveling. So
This is going to be interesting. That's all I got to say. It's going to be interesting.
For sure.
well, I mean, and obviously the size of the animal, the type of the animal, all matters. So like traveling with a horse is something entirely different. Traveling with an animal the size of Nani or a rabbit or a hamster.
How about we just focus it on trains, planes, and automobile type of travel so that we can ignore the bigger type of animal.
So we're not talking about like elephants on the shipping freight. Giraffes.
I don't think we have
that's
any.
probably it obviously is an industry that animals have to get, like giraffes and
Yeah, circus. The circus.
Yeah, but we're certainly not experts on that.
Qualified
So
to talk about this.
qualified for sure.
No,
but yes, I mean, as far as dogs, I have not done any international traveling because I do have a dog. I have a Shih Tzu, and his name is Griffin. He's pretty chill. We have taken, although I have not traveled with him on a plane and internationally or anywhere else for that matter. I have traveled with him in a car, and the longest trip he's done is probably 2.5 hours in the car, and
Wow.
that's it. We just don't take him. He gets boarded. Gets boarded.
Well, I mean, and you haven't moved with him, I guess.
Yes. Well, we have. We have moved. We have
Okay.
moved with him, but not cross country or in another state.
Okay.
It's been like up the road 40 minutes. So no,
Yeah.
Griffin has not been around, but I will say he's been to the beach. He's been to the vet, and he's been to the groomers, and that's pretty much Griffin's life. He's not a traveling dog, but he has traveled with us, and he's done, to say Austin or somewhere, and he's a very good dog. He's a very good traveler. All he does is just lay down in his little car seat, and he just goes to sleep. That's it.
Tell me then, because I used to own a dog, but I only used to travel automobile with my dog too as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, what is the difference between flying with a dog versus driving with a dog?
It is a huge difference because so the size of the dog matters. So if the dog is not big enough to fit under the seat in its carrier, it has to be cargo. And that is a pain in the ass. You have to have a crate large enough for the dog to fully stand up without hitting its head, turn around. So for a dog that was 50 pounds, our previous dog, it's a big ass crate, and there's preparations that need to happen in advance in order to get that dog on the plane.
Like what?
Well, you have to, first of all, they have to know that you're bringing a dog. So there's paperwork that you have to have now I'm not sure domestically if you need to have like a certificate of health to travel.
I believe you do.
I'm pretty sure
yeah,
you do. Yeah.
You definitely need it for international, and they do get a little bit persnickety about the time of year because the dog might be on the tarmac waiting to get on the plane. So if it's too hot or it's too cold, there's travel considerations. So they might prevent you from traveling at certain times, which makes it challenging for military trying to PCS because it tends to be during the summer. So if you can get that military rotator flight, if you are military, it actually is easier for the dog, not necessarily for the humans. It's not a better flight for the humans, but a better flight for the dog because they will be able to stay with you until the last minute before boarding. But we found that like Alaska Airlines is very dog friendly because they're taking the dog and putting him with the luggage, basically. I mean, I don't know what it looks like underneath there, but they'll send you a little sticky note that says, Kane is on the plane, and you're like, yay, the dog is made it. I remember my kids were so happy. But if you're traveling to a rabies-free country, there's a lot of paperwork and testing that needs to happen beforehand, because if it doesn't happen, then your dog might have to be in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Which, hold on.
But it sounds like
he's growling at something.
It sounds like well, the process in general, other than automobile, but train and plane, it's costly. And
It can be. You are paying, like for Alaska Airlines, it was $100 for the pet. United wanted like $300 per dog. Super annoying.
They are
And
proud.
I traveled.
does that include vaccine for them to fall asleep on the plane and all this other stuff?
A vaccine to fall
Or
asleep?
not vaccine,
What?
but like a shot. I know if they
No,
got
the airline
that's
is not
just the
giving your
airline's
dog a
fee.
shot.
No, that's just the
No.
airline's fee for your dog to travel.
And
No, I mean, don't they put them to like? Aren't they?
no, they do not put the dog to sleep. No, if you're going to
No.
drug your dog, that's something you do personally, and a lot of people don't
Okay.
recommend it. But there are certain types of dogs that aren't, like you had an English bulldog,
Yes.
short
They're
snouted
not
dogs.
allowed to travel.
They
on
have
planes.
restrictions. And then if you like with this dog, we traveled to Las Vegas on a semi-private airline because I didn't want to deal with the Denver security. So this was a different airport, and security was like basically non-existent.
Yeah.
But he was able. It was really simple. But he got a little agitated when we were just sitting there on the tarmac, not moving, and started like barking. And then another dog in the back started barking, and there was like synchronized
Annoying.
barking, and I was like, shut up.
Well, it's kind of like a baby, right? It's kind of like what a baby
So
does.
he was a puppy.
Let's back it up a little bit though. Why do let me just ask this question? Why do people travel with their pets?
Well, in this case, I decided that I'm not boarding the dog anymore because the last dog that we had, we boarded him, and we always boarded him. He loved it. He would have so much fun. But he came back with kennel cough, and because he was 10 years old, he did not recover from that. And he just got sicker and sicker, and we ended up having to put him down. And this was in Korea. And so I was like, I'm not boarding the dog. I either have to find a dog sitter that's going to either stay in my house with him, or the dog will stay in their house, or I'm bringing him. Because I mean, he is like, with the puppy stage, he is like an infant. And I find myself being like, I can't imagine being a night away from my dog. I went to the Gaylord in Denver for one night, and I didn't have the dog. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm missing my dog right now. This is weird.
No, I can relate to that. When I had my dog, it was the same thing where you feel really like sad and uncomfortable that you're boarding the dog. And then you're hoping that the boarding place or facility that you're boarding them is clean and all this other stuff.
No, I mean, we've had incidents where our dog was like covered in poop, and we're like, why is he covered in, is it his shit or some other dog's? Like, why have you not been taking care of our dog?
Well, yeah, I mean, I find that, I mean, the being a dog owner myself, I'm fortunate enough to have an amazing vet as well as a spot for boarding, and shout out to Angel Pet Hospital. They do a fantastic job. And even before then, the other vet that we used to take our dog to wasn't fancy, but Dr. Rock was amazing here. So I guess I'm coming from an experience where the places that I've taken my dog have taken great pride in taking care of their pets. As a matter of fact, if we travel anywhere, or, I already book out, if I already know that we're going to be gone maybe a weekend or, extend or for a little bit longer, I go ahead and plan on the planner. I plan already my spot for my dog because it can get get kind of
you have to plan it out.
Busy, especially around the holidays when it's time for boarding pets. But I go ahead and set
that it's clean.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention, you have to make sure that your dog is up to snuff with their shots. But yes, so the correct shots and that sort of thing, not to mention if your dog is behind on shots, they will actually in my vet, they will actually separate them, give them their shots,
They
and
need
then
to be up with
are
their,
able
that's
to
just like standard for a pet owner.
No,
You need
well,
to be up with your shot.
it is one of the responsibilities, but again, it's a different philosophy. Not all people feel that way about their pets. I mean, if we only see the side where people are obsessive, or the pet is a part of their family, and that's the part we may be speaking on today. But there are people that see them as just pets. They belong outside, or they don't go on the furniture. They don't do this, so they're part of the family, but they're not one of the kids.
I mean,
so there's a different philosophy.
Yeah, I remember when I had the pleasure of traveling La Première service in Air France, their Air France first class service. And literally there was a dog in the first class service. And when I tell you this dog was so pampered, and I thought this was just something that you would see in the movie.
Did he have his own seat?
His own seat next to his
They
the way
paid
the
for a
seats
seat
are.
for the dog?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
wow.
And she was there, and she
crazy.
was over the top, lovely,
Wow.
and the dog, the dog even came over and sat with me a couple of times on, whatever. And I
Well,
was like,
there you
look, I
are.
paid for my section. But it was a lovely dog. But the reason why I brought this up was because, I know we're only focusing on dogs, but cats, mainly cat and dogs, are probably the focus, right? And I'm
Snakes.
curious to find out if you guys have
Ugh.
had any difference in or horror stories on anything, because I have one, but with pets traveling or people giving you guys a hard time, people meaning customers that are on the plane or train with y'all while traveling with the
I
pet or
haven't
anything.
traveled train with an animal, but no, I have. Even when he did a little bit of barking or like his like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
no one said anything because he's so cute. Like,
Mhm.
I think the
And I,
people
cuteness
are just
helps.
like,
yeah.
yeah,
And I
I'm
think
pretty
I
sure
think
that helps.
I think depending on where you're going to as well, because I honestly believe like America is a little bit, I think they're 50-50 when it comes to like the dog loving aspect and don't care where they are versus Europe, where Europeans, they don't care. They will be, even in the subways or the train or the metro or wherever, you're going to see a dog or a cat. And it's like no one cares.
I feel like
And
cats are harder though. You
yeah,
can't.
you'd be
Cats.
surprised. I see a
Putting a
lot
leash
of
on
cats.
leashes on
Yeah,
cats or
Yeah,
what?
I've
no, they
seen
put
it.
them. Well, they either do leashes, but most of them have them in a backpack or they have them in a cat
Oh, a
cradle
cat in a
or something like
backpack.
this. I'm allergic to fur in general, but I still own the dog and all this other stuff. But that could be annoying. Like I'm okay to go through it because I have Zyrtex and all these other pills and stuff like that. But I was just curious if you guys have had any,
Yeah, I mean
incidents
that's
that
a
you
good
guys seen,
point. It didn't even occur to me that if someone had like a dog or a cat
allergies.
allergy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but it's just. I guess it would be like the same with any allergy because you can't. You're out in the world, so you
Because
can't
it's
be like,
interesting, right? Because
yeah.
they don't tell you. For example, I guess my point is that if you were to ask if that cat or dog sat next to me, could I ask for a new seat or could I change my
Because if
plane?
you're like really
So-
allergic,
I
think,
would-
Exactly.
stop.
I think
do-
you could. I think you could here.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
in the U.S. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't
sure
know
in
so much Europe.
Yeah,
Or they'd be like, are they
Because I
just less
see- yeah.
caring?
I mean, hell, you see cats on the table that people are eating, which pisses me
That's
off.
gross. That's
I
gross.
can't.
Cafes. in
I
France.
cannot.
No.
And see, and that I
Yes.
think that's where I draw the line. I mean, I was very much brought up that dogs belong outside. So
Yes.
my whole thing now is with us having pets, within the house. I still have boundaries. Like my dog doesn't get on my furniture. He does not sleep in the bed with me. He does not go upstairs.
My dog used to do all that.
He has his own bed. He has his own his crate because he's crate trained.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it doesn't mean that we don't pet him, we don't pick him up, we don't love on him, but he's definitely our dog and our pet.
Yeah.
He's not like one of us.
That's-
So
yeah.
he doesn't get the same privilege as the adults in that
he's
sense.
not a human. But for sanitary reasons, they should not be in the
Unbelievable.
eating
Nowhere near your
area. I mean,
kitchen.
that's disgusting because
No,
I mean, here
not-
in the States, or at least in Colorado, you can
Hell
bring
no.
your dog if they have outside seating. You can bring your dog there, but they
And
dog
I have a
can't be
problem with that.
inside the restaurant. Oh, you do the outside seating?
I do. I don't.
Okay.
I don't mind. I would be okay if they had a separate section on the patio for you to put the dogs.
Then you're
If you
gonna
want to
have
be
a-
outside with your dog, I would prefer that.
You're going to have a
because-
problem in Europe.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
you're gonna have a
No. And I've seen it. I've traveled to Europe. I know.
Yeah.
It's just a way of being. But I'm just saying it would be really nice if there was a separate section because it doesn't necessarily mean that I want your dog roaming. Because some people do not have their dogs that sit. Some of them actually kind of roam sometimes, and I'm sitting there like, hello,
There's some
why
of
is your
those
dog roaming around the
Instagram
patio?
reels where the dog just like takes 5 tables with him. Yeah.
So yeah,
I've seen it where the cat, that's the biggest thing here in
Yeah.
France. I've seen the cat just literally on the same table that people are eating on. And
Yeah, I know.
I'm filming it. I'm just like, the cat
Yeah.
just jumped from table to table. And I'm
Can't
just
do
like,
that.
and people don't even say anything.
That
and
is
I'm just
gross.
like,
And is it
am
a
I the
feral
only-
cat or is like someone actually owns this cat?
Well, the cat is owned by the bar, like
the restaurant
cafe.
owner or whatever. Yeah.
But the point is that cat goes outside. Like the cat is walking on
No, I know.
paws
Yeah.
on whatever, and people are like, oh, so cute.
We were in It was
I'm
in
not sure
Korea.
I'd eat there though.
I
We
was
were
eating
at
there
a-
until I see the cat, and I was like, damn.
A Korean barbecue in Korea, and this dude had a bird on his shoulder while he's
Oh,
taking
God.
the order. And so it's Korean barbecue where you come and cook the food, and he had a bird on his shoulder. We're like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, we might have to skip
That's
this one.
where, and that's where I was saying, because that is part of the traveling with pets. Like when you travel with your pet, do you take your pet? Because that's why I say America is not very popular
Biting
with
my foot.
animals inside
Yeah.
of a
Mm-hmm.
restaurant. So
Yeah.
in Europe, it's very, very okay. Anywhere, especially in Germany and France, like it's not
Yeah,
an
they're
issue where
dog
you
friendly.
see
Yeah.
a dog.
But
or
I
a
feel like
cat.
the dogs, are they better behaved, the animals,
very,
or no?
very, very behaved.
Well, I would
the
think
cat that's walking around.
right,
Except for the
exactly.
cat.
Except for the cats. Well, it's you can't herd cats. It's kind of hard, right?
Yeah.
So,
They are
but here's
more
here's the
challenging.
other thing that I like to bring up too is that I have this traveling with pets as well because you think hotels, they are hotels and motel. Oh, well, not motels, but hotels and places or accommodations that have are pet friendly is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the
There's a lot of
Marriotts
places
are,
that are
even
like
the
that.
higher end hotels are pet friendly.
Yes, they're
Yeah.
pet friendly. And so if I know that establishment allows pets, I ask the question, where do you have the rooms that you don't put pets in?
Oh my
That's
God.
all
Because-
the rooms. All the rooms are pets.
Well, not all of them. Some of them are pet free. They're supposed to be. I should
In
say
Europe?
supposed to be pet free. No. Here in the United States, I can't
okay.
speak for Europe because I don't
Yeah,
travel with my
Europe,
pet in Europe.
oh,
But
yeah.
I'm sure all of them are, but
Yeah.
I mean, I've so far traveling, I have not had an issue because I do have allergies, so I have to be concerned. Not to mention, my husband has horrible allergies.
Yeah. I could tell whenever I go to a hotel, especially here in Europe, that something that was there because my allergies start to act up. The more it acts up.
Yeah, the cat dander is legit.
rough.
That's
Yeah.
bad.
The
rough.
place was clean. It's just that I could tell.
You didn't blacklight it,
Don't get me started on that. It's there in Airbnb.
Never
it's there
stay in another hotel. Oh, Airbnb. Ooh.
It's all over.
I know,
my
so it's kind of
God.
like, oh my god. But seriously,
Speaking of that, what about that? Like hotels, Airbnb, and all this other stuff. Is it the same? And do you feel any is there an expense that goes with it?
well,
Oh,
sure, there's a
always-
pet
There's an
deposit.
added, so the hotel does have an added expense. I think Airbnb might too. Cleaning
Oh, they
fee.
do for sure.
Supposedly, they're using this cleaning fee, to actually clean.
Yes. No, there's a pet fee. And honestly, there's a lot of Airbnbs now that I'm noticing are not pet friendly. It depends on the area. It depends on like if it's a city, most of the city ones, you'll see that they don't allow pets at all. But if you're say in a family friendly area, like camping or something like that, those are the accommodations that a lot of times will have
Or if they
an area
themselves
for
have
pets.
dogs or pets,
Correct.
they often
Correct.
Yeah, because their
Correct.
house is already funkified up with pets.
You said Pokemon.
But it is. Don't you guys think it is kind of curious? It's pretty interesting that difference in culture. And this
Yes.
is probably where the misconception comes in because I clearly notice in America, it's not very pet friendly everywhere. Whereas if you're in Asia or if you're in Europe, especially, it's extremely friendly.
It is.
And
Agreed.
I'm always curious why. And does it have to do with the health reason or we're just assholes?
Well, I also think though it has to do with community. Community is not just only people, but it's also the environment and the animals that you live with. So it's a holistic approach to life. Whereas,
What do you mean by community? Because everywhere has a community.
well, no. Meaning that the community within Europe or abroad includes everything
Your
around
pets.
you. It's animals.
animals,
It's the flora and fauna. It's everything. That's what builds community. That's what makes your community.
in America, we don't do that.
In America, we don't necessarily think that way. I think, yes. I mean, pets are a big deal. I mean, it's $1 billion industry. Thank you.
Yeah, there was a lot of
But, and as a matter of fact, I actually just saw a sign and I don't remember which one of the organizations, but they actually had a thing about getting, your cat and your pets neutered and spayed because they were trying to, stop the population of, the breeding and all this different stuff. Because there's a lot of pets that need homes. So,
But would you think it's a sanitary reason that America is so, especially when you're going into public spaces like hotels?
Yes.
and
For me,
restaurants.
absolutely. And if I'm speaking for myself, it's sanitary for me. That is what I always come down with. I don't travel with my pet. I just told you, I don't take them on a plane, and that has a lot to do with that. It has to do with the hassle of it, the extra cost.
Yeah, stressful. For my nanny, a nanny for nanny.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, one person has to stay back with the dog.
Exactly, and then the dog needs to be walked, and so it's
Yeah.
everything else. So I'm going on vacation. I'm going on a trip for a reason.
And it should
so
be like relaxing.
And it is, as it is, I have a pet, so therefore I already have expenses on top of when I travel, because now I have to worry about boarding. So that on top, no, I pay. Luckily, I have a smaller pet, so it only costs me about $25 a day. And they charge by the night. So but that is an added cost when I get back that I have to pay. Mm-hmm. So, you have to think about those things when having a pet and traveling. And that's why I think a lot of people do travel with their pets, is because of the expense. It's the expense, I think, number one. The second is the fact that having someone responsible to be able to take care of your pet. And if they're going to be treated the way that you treat them. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot that goes into deciding, once you do have that pet. With Griffin that we have now, and we've had a couple of dogs previous, it took a lot for the dog to come inside, because that was not something that we grew up with. So
no, I'm the same too as well, the way we grew up. And I think I adjust as I got older, and my pets obviously were inside whenever I had them and stuff. When you guys are traveling with them, give us some reasons or some ways that you can calm your pet down when you're flying, if they're all freaking out and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, aside from drugging them, which I wouldn't recommend.
Well, that's
that's hard, because definitely something
you can't give them food.
On.
No, it's to choose.
But you could give them snacks. But they have to be
pee, right?
They're not going to pee from food.
No,
but
I'm saying if you're going to give them food, they're going to want to drink. If they drink,
they're going to drink. They're going to. Well, yeah, I think you have to be careful with that, because I know I don't feed my dog before I travel, just because. And I shouldn't say that. I give him water, but I don't give him a meal. And we do. And if we are in a car ride, we do stop. I do give him a break.
That's easier.
But if you're flying, I think you have to just know your pet. But I would think that if they were to eat or drink, drinking, yes, but you're right. They would need to
I would assume
go to the bathroom
prior to you.
But they would also be, I would hope they're crate trained.
Yes, and they're supposed to be in the carrier the entire time. So especially if they're in the cargo with the luggage, you have to have food and water available.
No,
it needs to be in the crate with them.
I apologize. I meant in the plane.
In the cabin?
In the actual cabin. Okay.
Right. They're supposed to stay in the carrier, unless you're on some sort of special private airline where the dog can just sit
or
with
if
you.
it's a service animal, I thought you were able to
service animals
have
are very different, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought you were able to, you don't have to, but most of the time,
yes. They need toys, and then just knowing that you're there. I tried to pet him, but then he wanted to bite me, so that did not work.
A lot of people.
Once we started moving, he fell asleep, but it was just being stationary, waiting to take off.
Yeah. Well, I think that's for adults too. They can get pretty antsy, but I would think that I've known a trick also for folks that have had to put their pets in crates, especially if they're going to be put it on the plane. They will, the same way they would do for separation anxiety, is they'll put a shirt or something with their scent on it and put it in the crate with your dog or cat, because sometimes that will help to calm them down, because then they'll feel that you're near.
That's smart.
He would get mad as hell, and because the previous dog did not bark hardly at all, but he had a very deep, scary sounding bark, and we would walk away and he would see us walking away and he's in the crate. He was pissed. And then when we came out from customs and the dog was already there in the baggage area and he could smell us, and he started barking like I'm here, come get me, you. He was so mad.
Yeah.
Wow. He was pissed.
Well, I think you just have to, I was just saying, I just think you have to get to know your pet, and if you're going to introduce them to traveling, then, I think the structure is the best, knowing that once they go in that crate, that's because Griffin he's crate trained, so I could leave him in his crate for 8 hours and he'll be fine. I know that sounds harsh, but when you work, you know, he'll just be fine. That's his home.
What airlines would you guys recommend as some of the top airlines that are very
I've liked Alaska Airlines.
Alaska Airlines are really good.
The semi-private airline JSX is really good.
JSX is wonderful, I hear.
Yeah.
What about Southwest? Are they any good with pets?
No.
I'm just
I don't
curious.
like the entire boarding process.
A lot
that
of people
causes me
take
anxiety to not.
Yeah,
I
they take
agree.
them because they're cheap.
It's
They
cheap,
take them
so
because they're
I
cheap.
ain't trying to do that. I get anxiety from Southwest. So.
No.
Yeah, but
I heard
would think
United is good.
United, Delta.
Well, United, I thought
American
was the one
Airlines
that had the pet that died, and wasn't that United?
They
I'm
did.
sure.
They
I'm sure
did.
that's happened on
They did.
on a couple of airlines. I don't think it's just
They
United.
were like,
it's just
it was like they told them that you have to put the pet in the overhead. Like that's crazy. I would have
yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I would have never done that.
Have you guys ever experienced or seen someone who tried to travel with a weird animal other than a pet? Or
I actually
No.
haven't seen it. So important things to note is that like Trecia said, you do have to know your pet. So if you have like an animal that's just downright insane, is going to bark and cause like complete chaos, probably not going to travel on a plane with this animal, or at least not in a cabin. Because we've had those dogs too that just were ready to rip somebody's heads off, and they're not friendly to travel with. But also, you have to. There are lots of things to consider. There is an extra expense. There can be a hassle. There could be vaccination, shot record, health certificates, all those things for flying that you're going to need. Each country has different regulations, and there's like entire websites of information with how to get your pet in country.
That's important.
Depending
That's
on
key.
It's a lot.
And so
sounds like it's more stress than anything.
It is stressful. It can be.
But with proper planning, you can do it. And it can be quite enjoyable, especially for those who have those anxieties, or if you're traveling solo, you might want to consider that.
You might want to have your pet with you. Yeah.
Your pet with you. The last thing I just want to say is that we're going to put in our comment section, because we love to leave you things there. We'll have a couple of links there of 10 best dog-friendly places for the U.S. as well as the world, where you can travel with your pet that you might want to get inspired. So look out for that.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have enjoyed our episode, please leave us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, and we appreciate you.
Misconceptions we chasing ghosts.
See ya.